In the early 90s, a team of Pfizer scientists gathered in a lab in England. They were developing a new treatment for heart conditions like angina, hoping to improve blood flow and ease chest pain. The work was routine. But beneath the surface of those clinical trials, something unexpected was about to emerge. A discovery that would change the way the world talks about intercourse, aging, and men's health. Viagra's rise was anything but ordinary. What started as a minor research project quickly turned into one of the most commercially successful drugs in history. The blue pill reshaped the industry, set new sales records, and became a cultural reference. But behind its explosive success was a series of challenges: legal fights, international controversies, and countless battles against counterfeiters. Its journey to the top was fast, but the road wasn't smooth. In this video, we're diving deep into the story of Viagra. From its accidental discovery to the explosive global launch, you'll learn how Viagra went from a failed heart medication to a billion-dollar blockbuster. Let's begin. Pfizer scientists were testing a new drug to treat angina, a type of chest pain, in clinical trials conducted in Wales. By 1993, it was clear that the drug wasn't delivering its intended benefits. However, a surprising side effect began to emerge. Male participants were reporting frequent, unprovoked erections. While the drug had failed at its original purpose, it was clear that it was affecting blood flow in a completely unexpected way. During the trials in Morriston Hospital, research nurses noticed that many male participants were consistently lying on their stomachs. When asked why, the men admitted they were experiencing erections. The drug was clearly dilating blood vessels, just not in the heart. Pfizer recognized the significance of this side effect. Instead of discarding the compound, the team pivoted, launching one of the most successful examples of drug repurposing in history. By 1996, after confirming the erectile effects in follow-up studies, Pfizer filed patents for sildenafil, the drug previously known by its code name UK 92480, specifically for the treatment of erectile dysfunction. Clinical trials showed impressive results, with the drug proving effective in about 70% of men with organic erectile dysfunction, ED, and up to 84% in those with psychological causes. The side effects were mild, and patients preferred it over more invasive options. Armed with this data, Pfizer moved quickly to bring the drug to market. In March 1998, following successful trials and patent approval, Viagra was officially launched in the US. The FDA approved it as the first oral treatment for erectile dysfunction. Within weeks, the blue pill hit pharmacy shelves nationwide. The brand name Viagra was crafted to evoke strength, combining vigor with a reference to Niagara Falls in Canada, symbolizing power and flow. Viagra's launch sparked an immediate surge in demand. Within just 2 weeks, it captured nearly 80% of the US market for erectile dysfunction treatments, an astonishing takeover that blindsided even Pfizer. Doctors were overwhelmed with appointment requests, and pharmacies struggled to keep the drug in stock. As one commentator put it, men came out of the closet to address ED once a viable oral treatment was finally available. A silent problem had become a national conversation almost overnight. At the time of Viagra's release, erectile dysfunction was still a deeply taboo subject. Most men avoided talking about it, even with their doctors. Pfizer knew that for Viagra to succeed, it would need to challenge decades of silence and stigma around erectile dysfunction. The company launched an aggressive nationwide advertising campaign, not just to promote the drug, but to change the conversation. In the US, Pfizer used this opportunity to push ED into the public spotlight and encourage men to seek medical help without shame. As you see in many clips I'm showing in this video, most of Viagra's ads focused on couples rather than just the man. By showing partners, Pfizer positioned Viagra as the solution for relationships, not just individuals. This shift in focus reframed ED as a shared challenge, making it easier for both men and women to talk about. It made the topic more accessible, both at home and in the doctor's office. Pfizer also brought in big names to help change public perception. Former US Senator Bob Dole appeared in early ads speaking directly and seriously about erectile dysfunction.
Courage, something shared by countless Americans. Those who risk their lives, those who battle serious illness, When I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, I was primarily concerned with ridding myself of the cancer. But secondly, I was concerned about possible post-operative side effects like erectile dysfunction, ED, often called impotence. You know, it's a little embarrassing to talk about ED, but it's so important to millions of men and their partners that I decided to talk about it publicly. And after all, it can be associated with many conditions, including prostate surgery, high blood pressure, diabetes, or even smoking. And the point I want to make is there are many treatments available for ED, so my advice is get a medical checkup. It's the best way to get educated about ED and what can be done to treat it. It may take a little courage, but I've always found that everything worthwhile does.
Later, Pelé, one of the most celebrated athletes in the world, joined the campaign.
Hola. Hasta la semana pasada, él tenía miedo de hablar con su médico sobre sus dificultades de erección. Ahora, él no piensa en hablar. Como muchos hombres, él ya se ha beneficiado del tratamiento. Los problemas de erección son comunes. Habla con tu médico. Yo lo haría.
These weren't random choices. By featuring powerful, respected men, Pfizer sent a deliberate message. ED isn't a weakness, and it isn't shameful. If men like Dole and Pelé could talk about it, so could everyone else. Viagra didn't just dominate ads, it took over the media. Within weeks of its launch, the pill was everywhere. Headlines, talk shows, you name it. Viagra became a cultural talking point. This kind of publicity wasn't planned, but it worked. The constant coverage created a feedback loop. The more people heard about it, the more they talked about it, and the more curious they became. Pfizer had a winner, and the media practically handed them global attention for free. The blue pill quickly became a record breaker. In its first 3 months on the US market, it generated $400 million in sales. By the end of 1998, its first year, it had already crossed $1 billion globally. Prescriptions were being written at an unprecedented pace, up to 10,000 per day. It became the fastest-growing pharmaceutical product in history, and Pfizer had launched a new era in medicine. Viagra's momentum didn't slow down. By 2008, global sales hit their peak at around $1.9 billion for the year. In the US alone, the drug consistently brought in over $1 billion annually throughout the 2000s. It became one of the most profitable drugs in Pfizer's portfolio. Price increases over time also contributed to this peak, with the cost per pill rising from about $8 in 1998 to between $30 and $50 before generics arrived. Viagra dominated the erectile dysfunction market in the early 2000s, holding an incredible 92% share of the global market by 2000. It was the reference point for any ED treatment, so much so that doctors would often use the brand name Viagra as shorthand for any ED pill. Even as other competitors entered the market, Viagra's reputation and trust with doctors and patients kept it firmly at the top, solidifying its place as the go-to solution for erectile dysfunction. Viagra had a profound effect on how society viewed erectile dysfunction. Before its arrival, ED was a source of embarrassment and silence, with many men suffering in private. Viagra changed that. By making the condition treatable with a simple pill, it allowed men to speak openly about it without shame. As Dr. Jen Gunter put it, Viagra made it okay to publicly talk about a sexual problem, helping to lift the veil of secrecy that had long surrounded male sexual health. It also helped reshape societal views on aging and sexuality. Before its launch, the idea that older adults could enjoy an active sex life was often dismissed as unrealistic and just weird. Viagra proved otherwise, normalizing the concept that sexual issues in older age weren't just part of getting old, but could actually be addressed. This shift sparked more open conversations about intimacy for seniors, empowering many older couples to explore their relationships. Viagra became more than just a medication, it became a part of pop culture. Late-night talk shows, comedians, and media outlets made it a frequent topic, often using humor to break the tension around what was still considered an uncomfortable subject. This widespread media presence helped normalize the conversation about erectile dysfunction and its treatment. Viagra didn't just make waves in the world of comedy. It also made its way into mainstream TV and film. One notable example is The Simpsons, where Principal Skinner gets into a situation involving the pill.
Hold that thought, I'm getting a text. Viagra at $5 a pill? Whatever it is, it's going in Skinner's coffee.
What is in this coffee?
Whether it was a character taking it by mistake or discussing its effects, Viagra's presence in TV and movies highlighted how deeply it had embedded itself into public consciousness. Just like Kleenex became synonymous with tissues in general, Viagra became a widely recognized term, instantly understood as a solution for erectile dysfunction. As Viagra's success grew, Pfizer faced the challenge of protecting its multiple patents around the globe. The company fought fiercely to maintain exclusive rights to the drug, even going as far as securing patent extensions in the US. This led to long legal battles, particularly with generic manufacturers like Teva and Mylan, who sought to produce their own versions of sildenafil. Pfizer's legal team worked tirelessly to delay competition, striking deals to extend their market dominance. But despite their efforts, the arrival of generics was just around the corner. Pfizer's legal battles over Viagra's patent rights spanned multiple continents, reflecting the drug's global impact. In the United Kingdom, the High Court invalidated Pfizer's patent on Viagra in 2000, ruling it lacked novelty due to prior public knowledge. Similarly, in China, Pfizer faced challenges when 12 domestic drug companies contested its patent, leading to a revocation of its method of use patent in 2002. In Brazil, Pfizer's patent was also contested. The Brazilian government argued that the patent term should expire earlier than Pfizer had planned, and in 2010, the Brazilian courts sided with the government, allowing generics to enter the market ahead of schedule. As for Canada, in 2012, Pfizer suffered a significant setback when the Supreme Court of Canada also invalidated their Viagra patent. The ruling was based on Pfizer's failure to clearly identify sildenafil as the active ingredient in their original patent filing. Canada's Patent Act gives a company a 16-year monopoly on a product if it can prove it is a new invention. In return, the company must show publicly in its application how it created its product. Lower courts had sided with Pfizer in the dispute until Canada's top court agreed, in a 7-0 decision, with Teva's argument. Pfizer's patent on Viagra does not meet the disclosure requirements set out in the Act, Justice LaBelle wrote in the ruling. Pfizer gained a benefit from the Act, exclusive monopoly rights, while withholding disclosure in spite of its disclosure obligations under the Act. As a matter of policy and sound statutory interpretation, patentees cannot be allowed to game the system in this way. This, in my view, is the key issue in this appeal, LaBelle said. Pfizer's control over the erectile dysfunction market took another major hit when its Viagra patent expired in the US in 2017. The end of patent exclusivity opened the floodgates for generic versions, drastically lowering the price of sildenafil. This not only cut into Pfizer's market share, but also allowed other competitors to rise. Cialis, developed by Eli Lilly, quickly gained popularity due to its longer-lasting effects, up to 36 hours, compared to Viagra's 4 to 6 hours. Levitra, manufactured by Bayer, offered a faster onset of action and was often preferred by men who experienced side effects with Viagra. With these new alternatives, Pfizer was no longer the sole option, and the ED pill market became far more fragmented, with various drugs offering distinct advantages. To stay competitive, Pfizer introduced Viagra, a generic version of sildenafil, in various markets, priced lower than the original Viagra, but still branded under Pfizer's name. This move was part of Pfizer's strategy to fight back against generics while maintaining a foothold in the growing market for ED drugs. While Pfizer fought to protect Viagra's patent worldwide, another problem emerged: counterfeit versions of the drug. With Viagra's immense demand and high price, counterfeiters quickly recognized it as a lucrative opportunity. Fake Viagra flooded illicit markets and online pharmacies where many men, either too embarrassed or unable to afford the genuine product, turned to these unregulated alternatives. Pfizer reported seizures of millions of counterfeit pills over the years, including a major operation in 2004 where over 10 million fake tablets were seized. The widespread counterfeiting posed serious challenges for both Pfizer's profits and public health. Fake Viagra not only hurt Pfizer financially, but also posed significant risks to consumers. These fake pills often contain dangerous and incorrect ingredients. Some counterfeit pills were laced with substances like printer ink, amphetamines, or even drywall powder. In other cases, the pills contain sildenafil in improper dosages, making them ineffective or worse, potentially harmful. Studies found that up to 77% of Viagra purchased online from unverified sources was counterfeit, and many of these products had severe side effects. The market for counterfeit Viagra thrived due to the persistent stigma surrounding erectile dysfunction. Many men were too embarrassed to seek treatment or discuss their condition openly, which led them to turn to unofficial, often illegal sources. The shame associated with ED made people more likely to search for discreet, lower-cost alternatives, even if it meant risking their health. As a result, counterfeit Viagra became one of the most widely circulated drugs on the black market, with demand remaining high even as Pfizer and governments attempted to crack down on these illicit operations. Pfizer, along with governments around the world, launched extensive efforts to combat the growing counterfeit Viagra market. Pfizer set up a dedicated security division to work with customs officials, police, and other agencies to track down fake Viagra production and distribution. Despite ongoing crackdowns, the black market for counterfeit Viagra remains strong, driven by persistent demand and a steady supply from countries like China and India, where underground factories continue to mass-produce fake pills. Viagra's legacy stretches far beyond the success of a single drug. It changed the way we think about aging and sexual health, broke social taboos, and reshaped the pharmaceutical industry. With over $30 billion in sales, it became one of the most successful drugs of all time. Beyond its financial impact, Viagra changed the conversation surrounding erectile dysfunction and became a symbol of vitality for older adults. It opened doors for new treatments, encouraged honest discussions about sexual health, and made it clear that age should never define one's quality of life. Thank you for joining me on this journey of Viagra's fascinating history. If you've learned something new or found this story interesting, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this.